On this episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast, we talk about The Way of All Flesh by Gojira. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
We're two professional broadcasters. We like metal and we like to talk about it. And today we're talking about infamous satanic metal band.
Yes.
And also infamously French metal band,
Yes.
Gojira.
I mean, that's kind of redundant, isn't it?
Exactly. Well, they're equally as bad, being
right.
satanic or French. They're
You know what's funny is I've met many Satanists. I've never met one I didn't like.
yeah. Also, the satanic part was sarcasm.
Yeah, it was.
Because
The Olympics.
Yeah, if you weren't aware, Gojira performed at the opening ceremony of the Olympics in
Right.
Paris, since they are from France. And despite the fact that none of their lyrics have anything to do with Satanism,
No.
as far as I can ever remember, maybe there was some general sort of metal stuff in like their first album or something like that.
There might have been.
But pretty much everything since then has been exclusively about environmental stuff or
Right.
animal rights or human rights or, they are a very politically conscious band.
Politically and socially conscious.
And that is what they're, as far as I'm aware, they're, what they performed at the Olympics was a take on a pre-existing song, wasn't it? I don't think it was.
I think it was a new single.
Maybe. I'm not sure. I read something briefly today where it was maybe a pre-existing song, but
I mean, they weren't making it up as they were going along.
well, yeah, I didn't.
It was a pre-existing song.
I didn't mean that. I think it was just there was like a link to the title of the song on their Wikipedia page, so I presumed that it was something that had already been written by someone else that they were like doing a cover.
Oh, it was a cover,
of.
you're saying?
Yeah, it was a cover.
I think it might have been Barry Manilow.
Cover or, I mean, rearranging is ultimately not like, it's ultimately the same thing, I guess, but
Or an homage.
a bit more, to me, cover is like, I don't know how to articulate the thought I'm trying to have, because I'm also trying to scroll through their Wikipedia page to find out what the fuck I'm talking about, and I can't do two things at once.
Trying to multitask.
And I can't do that. I've never been able to multitask. Like, I mean, studies have shown that people in general don't multitask.
Right.
What you are doing is switching between doing two different tasks and doing a little bit of one and then switching to doing a little bit of another.
Right.
You're not actually doing two things at the same time.
Yeah.
Some people are better at switching their focus between multiple things. I am not capable of doing that. If I have to interrupt what I'm doing to do something else and it takes more than a minute, it completely ruins my ability to return to focusing on something else.
Sure.
Like, my workflow is I do one thing at a time. I finish doing that and then I get to the other thing. Because otherwise, if I try to do two things at the same time, it will end up taking me twice as long as if I had just focused on one thing, finished that, and then done the other thing.
Right.
The song that they performed at the Olympics was their version of Gojira. I don't know how that's supposed to be pronounced. There's a very strange accent symbol on the C. Or Ira. It's a song from the French Revolution.
Right, yeah, I was
First
gonna say.
heard in May 1790.
Right.
Which is appropriate since they performed next to a
Marie Antoinette.
a headless Marie Antoinette.
Right.
At the place where she was beheaded. All very metal stuff, but when you have a band that is using harsh lyrics, heavy guitars, and pyrotechnics, that's automatically Satanism.
Right.
But yeah, I just thought that was kind of funny that people were accusing them of being satanic, and I was like, they're like they're so far away from that.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they are in personal life.
Yeah, I don't know.
They don't bring it to their music.
I don't know much about the Duplantier brothers other than their mom is from Wisconsin.
Right. She passed away. Did
she?
I believe she did. Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't know that. Or maybe I did know that. Maybe that came up the last time we talked about them. It's been a little bit since we talked about Gojira, I think.
It has.
Have we talked about them since Fortitude came out as far as like revisiting previous albums?
I don't believe we have.
Yeah.
I think we've talked about
Did we talk about Magma?
Magma, Mars to Sirius, and then Fortitude.
Yeah, I think that might be it. I was trying to remember if we had talked about like their first album or Les Enfants Sauvages.
Yeah. The Savage Baby.
The Savage Baby.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think we have. So yeah, today we're talking about The Way of All Flesh, which came out in 2008. It was their follow-up to From Mars to Sirius. And we'll talk more about Gojira and about the album a bit later on. But how are you doing right now?
It's been a crazy 24 hours for me.
You have a new little friend in your life.
I have a new little friend. I have an animal. He's about 7 or 8 pounds of dog, tops.
Yeah.
And he's 10 months old. And my Honda dealer's ex-husband's girlfriend, she had given the dog to her, and then her ex-husband became the neighbor's boyfriend, and he's a dick and beat the dog to shit, and then eventually dropped it back off at her house, and then she showed up at my work and handed me this dog. I'm like, I'm calling bingo. Why are you handing me a dog?
Yeah.
And then she says, because this is your dog now. You're taking this dog. I cannot, because she has like 300 children, and she has already 3 dogs living in a house in her, her 1-room apartment. And she said, you got to take this dog. She said, you need companionship right now. And so
here, I'm basically not giving you a choice.
Yeah. So I'm not giving you a choice. I'm giving you a responsibility. Here you go. Take
just
this.
What you wanted.
Yeah. And so she dropped it off at my house at 7 p.m. last night. I'm like, okay, I guess. And then, I got some dog dishes. I got some treats. I got some food, litter box, and a leash. And yeah, he spent the night with me, and he's very skittish because I'm an adult man.
Yeah.
And he just spent the last 10 months getting his ass kicked by an adult man.
Dogs definitely pick up on that sort of thing, body types and gender and whatnot. No, that's absolutely how it works sometimes.
And so I want to approach him, and I've been trying. I kind of got him to warm up to me a little bit, and then I got him to sit in my lap, because usually if you move toward him too fast, he cowers and cries.
Yeah.
So you got to move kind of sloth-like around him, and I'm trying to warm him up and all that. And then he slept on my bed last night, at the foot of my bed. It was very nice. I kept waking up, and he was staring at me, which was kind of creepy.
Yeah.
And then I left him home alone. I left a window open with the screen. And I let it kind of get some fresh air. Enjoy your day, buddy. And then he got so stressed out about being left alone, he chewed through the metal screen and jumped out a second-story window. Yeah.
But it seems like he was okay.
Yes, he was fine.
He's walking all right.
He's walking all right, yeah. Because
he's also basically a puppy. So they're, obviously being hyperbolic, but they're kind of indestructible.
A bit.
A little bit.
I was worried, though, because I went outside, out my apartment down the stairs and run to the side under my window there with the hole in the screen. I expected maybe it was going to find a dog with a broken neck.
Yeah.
But I found no dog.
Yeah, you found no dog and then had to go look for said dog.
Yeah, I went and I picked up 2 of my Honda dealer's children. and we drove around the neighborhood. It was really funny because we were behind Job Corps over there, and there was this dude standing on the curb just smoking.
Yeah.
And it was the funniest part of the whole thing. He looked at us, he said, "You looking for a little brown dog?"
He just knew.
He could tell by how we were craning our necks and driving 10 miles an hour.
Those people looking for a dog.
That dog, I just saw that dog.
I done seen him. He down that way.
And he was. We picked him up, and then, it's going to be... I mean, I love the little guy.
Yeah.
But this is... I don't know.
You didn't ask for this.
No, I did
And
not.
a dog, I feel like, is one of those things you kind of should ask for. If the way to acquire a dog should be that you want a dog.
Right.
It's dogs are kind of like children.
Yeah.
In that maybe it's best if you want to have one.
Sure.
And you intend to get one. You know how you go get a child?
Yeah, exactly. It's my apartment, my choice.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. That's it's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
That's wacky.
But now I have this dog. And it was really cool. Last night I watched Jack Reacher 2. You Can't Go Home Again, or whatever the hell it is. And
the Tom Cruise movie.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, because Netflix was like, And I'm like, I'm going to give a shit.
Sure,
yeah,
why
go
not?
ahead. And during the movie, he's like watching the movie. You just right here watching the movie. I'm watching the movie. And then when it was over, he went back to being nervous as shit.
So you just got to always have the TV on.
Yeah, which I thought about doing because I was going to kennel him.
There you go.
I got a kennel. I got a nice bed, some chew toys and stuff like that. And then I was getting ready to leave, and he started just barking. I'm like, I don't really have permission from the landlord to have you yet. So I had to make other plans.
You could if you have like the YouTube app on your TV. I don't know if it's a smart TV. You could pop up. I'm sure there's like very long videos that's like dog TV.
Right. Yeah. I think there's actually an app in Roku. In the Roku thing, there's
it's a dog
TV for dogs.
App.
Yeah.
Nice. Submit that could be a thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've been stressed out for less wacky reasons. Which is that I am hoping to get a particular apartment to move into that's pretty close by. It's a little less than a half a mile down the street. So a fair distance to walk, but definitely doable. That's, somewhere around a 10-minute walk if one is traveling at a reasonable pace.
Right.
And it's really nice. It's got a lot of really nice amenities. I feel like it's definitely worth its price. It's a fair bit more expensive than what I pay here. It's like $350 more.
I feel like you deserve it.
I feel like I do as well. I can afford it. And it has just a lot of things that seem really nice. And also like this place is ultimately fine, but there are a lot of little things about it that over the last 6 years I've been living here have just slowly gotten on my nerves time after time again. And I've just had enough of it and would like to live somewhere where those things are not an issue. Things like the fact that there's hardly any ventilation in this goddamn apartment. And that the place where I sleep is the furthest point away from the place where cool air comes into the apartment. And
sleeping on the couch.
Yeah, I could set up my bed in the living room. But the new place has central air, which is really nice. It also comes with a 2-car garage. I don't need a 2-car garage, obviously. I only have 1 car, but I do have a kayak that currently lives an hour's drive away.
Right.
And I could have that up here finally and maybe actually make some regular use of it now that I don't have to drive an hour to both get the kayak and make use of it. I can, if it's just here, there are lakes I can go to that are much closer by.
Yeah, Strawberry.
They're maybe a bit less visually interesting than some of the places on Lake Sakakawea, but it's still a lake. And it still might be some nice peace and quiet out in nature.
And it's actually a great place to do. I've gone canoeing up there, but and there are several lakes. We're getting very specific here.
I mean, hey, we're having a conversation. This is for us.
There are actually a bunch of lakes. They call it Lake Metagoshi in America, but there are a bunch of lakes around there.
Yeah, there's a ton of
Lake Schooling up there. which is awesome because there's no motorboats on Lake Schooling.
Yeah.
It's just kayaks and canoes and a beaver. There's a really big beaver colony up there.
I mean, hey.
A really big beaver.
You want to say that one more time?
Really big beaver.
There we go. Okay. You said it 3 times and now you've summoned Buckshot. Buckshot, by the way, is the mascot of the local college, and he is a beaver.
He is a beaver.
But
that's our local. In fact, I don't know if you guys know this or not. We actually had the Rochester, Minnesota.
They also are the beavers.
They are, and they have the Beaver Bash. Every year, they invite them here for the Beaver Bash.
Yep.
I've had to write a couple of those commercials, and they're hard to do because how do I do this without sounding like I'm talking about the vagina?
Yeah.
I mean,
there is a liquor store across the highway from campus that is called Broadway Liquor,
but they
wanted to be called Beaver Liquor.
Right.
Which is fucking hilarious.
The city council was like, no. You see what you're doing there. Yeah,
for the first time in history, someone in Minot actually got the innuendo.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are plenty of bodies of water in the area that I could travel on in my kayak.
Right.
If it was actually here, which is, the garage is nice. The fact that it just is part of rent. I don't have to rent it separately. It's I just get it. If I get the apartment, I get the garage. It's nice. And it seems it actually has some room in it. Like I have a very small car and it barely fits in my garage stall.
Yeah, those are some weirdly small garages.
Insane to me. And they suck too. The interior, not that a garage needs to be nice,
right?
But the interior is just real ratty. Yeah,
and I know when you do move out of this place, they're gonna take sledgehammers to this motherfucker because this looks like it's you rented an apartment from 1988.
Yeah,
that's what this looks like.
I've seen pictures because when I was looking at apartments, there's a different unit available in this building.
Yeah,
and I was looking at the pictures and it's like, wow, that looks nothing like what I'm in. So I'm certain that the moment I'm out of here, they are going to be renovating the entire place, which makes me feel a little bit better about some of the places where maybe I haven't taken the best care of this apartment.
Right.
Specifically all of the fucking sound foam on the walls that are held up by thumbtacks. Like it's stated in the lease that you are allowed to, put thumbtacks in the walls. Like that's fine. But there's a lot of them.
There is a lot of them.
They're going to see all these holes and think, this man was fucking insane. Did he have a goddamn
conspiracy theory?
Did he have a conspiracy board? And why were they shaped this way? Why were they shaped like an upside down B-2 Spirit?
That's what I think of every time I see them.
Yeah, they look like stealth bombers.
Yeah,
it just seemed more visually interesting than just having squares on the wall. I was like, let's do kind of an upside down sort of triangle with the rough edges.
Right.
I thought it made it look a little nicer. So I don't know how if I end up getting this place because I'm in the middle of the application process. I've filled out all my application stuff, which is what I was so stressed out about today.
Yeah.
I've filled out all of that and sent it off. And so now I'm waiting to see if it gets approved. And that's what's had me so stressed out. I ended up they needed a lot of information from me. Yeah. Which I kind of understand. It's a nicer place. They want to make sure I'm not like a drug dealer or something. I sort of get that, but there was.
So how did you hide that about you?
How did I hide all of the crimes? The same way I've hid it from everyone else.
With a shovel and a bag.
I was going to say by not doing them.
By not doing them? I'm a terrible drug dealer.
Yeah.
I haven't sold any drugs this year.
But yeah, I have been kind of stressed out about that because I've been, in contact with the leasing agent who gave me a tour of their model unit yesterday. And that kind of sealed it for me as like I really wanted it already because it's the place that was closest and it's so nice. And, I had my heart set on it already.
Right.
There was a different apartment in that same complex that had been available as early as next month. And in the time between noticing it for the first time and scheduling a visit, someone else had already snatched it up. So I have to, if I do end up getting this apartment, I have to wait until at least like October 19th to move in. So yeah, that was just stressful. There was a whole thing where they needed proof of income basically. And they sent a link where you can link one of your pay stubs. And I did that and it got rejected, but I don't know why it rejected my pay stub. I don't know if it's because like they want your monthly income to be at least 3 times rent, which my monthly income is. It's barely 3 times rent, but it is over 3 times rent. At least my gross income is anyway. And that's what they were gross. That's what they were asking. They were asking about gross income. I was like, okay, they don't, tax deductions not included, whatever. But we get paid every 2 weeks.
Right. Like most people.
Yeah. And so like, yeah, my most recent pay stub is going to be significantly less than 3 times, 3 times the rent, because it's only half what I make in a month.
Was there not like some sort of way to scan in a second pay stub or?
I guess I don't know if they only asked for one. There was a different part in the application, where they said you could include your 2 most recent pay stubs, but that was if you didn't do a certain other thing, and I just did the other thing instead. This was a separate thing where it was like a separate link to their like in-house application form. It was a separate service, and they wanted either your bank account information or pay stubs, and I guess I only saw an option to link one file.
Right.
I also don't know if that didn't work because when our pay stubs get emailed to us, they are encrypted. Right. They require a password in order to view. And I don't know if that encryption is native to the file or if that's on the email.
I feel like it might be.
I think it's on the file. I think it's on the file too. I think it's just baked into that PDF that gets sent.
Right.
So maybe that was the problem. I don't know. And I said that, when I responded to the email from the leasing agent, I was like, let me know if there are any problems when our pay stubs get sent to us, they're password protected. So I don't know if that's going to cause an issue. And I guess it did. But I ended up linking my bank account information, which was also a weird thing because I had never realized my bank, which is the local bank in the town I grew up in, because I've not had a reason to change banks since I left my hometown. I haven't had a real, because you can do everything online. Like I haven't had a real reason to change banks. And so I still use that bank, and they changed a couple years ago from their original name. They got bought by a network that, a chain that owns a handful of banks across like South Central North Dakota. And I hadn't realized that after that change happened, I had never enrolled in that network's online banking service because I don't really do a lot of banking online because I don't really need to do a lot of banking.
Right.
Like, I check my balance at the ATM, make sure things aren't going down. And that's kind of all I do. My finance, I am so hands off with my finances. It's irresponsible, but my life is simple enough that I keep on getting away with it for now. And I think that I'm going to try and change that over the next couple of years, probably as part of maybe building up to theoretically achieving the impossible millennial dream of owning a home. Maybe we'll see. So I made an account for myself, which then I was able to link with this website that they were having me use that would allow them to see if indeed I do have a job and am employed, I guess. And so I have not heard back from them since earlier this afternoon. Their the property manager, as it were.
Yes.
The literal person who holds that title needs to take a look at it and approve it themselves. The leasing agent can't do that. So I assume that will get done yesterday. Not yet. Boy, I assume that'll get done yesterday.
I need that done yesterday.
No, I assume that'll be done tomorrow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited. I'm really, really hoping that there's not some weird problem that ends up causing this application to get rejected.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
I really hope so, because I really like these apartments. They're very nice. And I think I would like living there. The building is really secure. All of the mailboxes are all inside.
Nice.
They have package parcel lockers inside, and it seems like UPS and probably FedEx has some sort of way to get into the lobby rather than just the mailroom to put packages down.
Yeah.
So that's nice. There's cameras. So people won't steal my shit, because I've had a couple of packages stolen here.
And it's weird things they've stolen.
It's like books and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think someone stole coffee filters from me one time. It's like, what?
How long ago was that?
Not too long ago.
Oh, okay. Because it was last year I had some accidental coffee filters delivered to my house.
No, this was because I haven't been ordering coffie filters for more than a year, because it's only since I started making.
Oh, I suppose your pour over.
My pour over stuff. No. Yeah, I've had some packages stolen, so it seems like that would be much less likely to happen in these buildings. And what are some of the other? Oh, in-unit washer and dryer. Not having to deal with anyone else regarding my fucking laundry, not having to pay almost $5 goddamn every time I want to do a load of laundry.
Yeah.
Like that's going to be very, very nice. And I am very excited about that. And yeah, I'm also hoping to, like, once I know, like if and when it gets approved and I have a move-in date, then I'm going to start looking at getting a new bed, and hopefully have it set up so that maybe I can have the bed delivered the same day that I'm going to be moving in, theoretically. If that is at all possible, I'd like to do that. If
you say you're not taking this couch either, right?
No. Yeah. I'm not planning on it anyway, which will mean if I, don't decide to get a couch immediately, that the living room might be a little empty. I mean, my TV and my entertainment center and stuff will probably be in there, but I will probably take that chair you're sitting on now and put that in the living room.
I still remember my first apartment. My first apartment after, I lived in a car with a dude who's committing burglaries. Then he went to jail.
Yeah.
And I
wonder why.
Fraud.
Was it your car, by the way?
Yeah, it was my car.
Okay. I was going to say, I couldn't remember if that, I'd heard the story before.
It was my hatchback. It was my, and then I got an apartment. I didn't have any furniture. And this girl I know named Lori, she went to an auction sale with her dad, and she was like, "Hey, Oach doesn't have any furniture, and I could get this whole lot for like $10." And so she showed up at my house one day with, I think it was 4 recliners.
Oh my god! Which one of these you want?
Yeah, no, they all went in.
All for you.
They were all for me. Here's all your recliners, and here's your kitchen table, wire spool. Here's here's a bunch of just weird shit. It was great. I loved it. I loved everything about it.
How did you fit? I'm trying to feel like, because I'm thinking about a wire spool that would be large enough to fit small enough to fit through a door, but large enough to comfortably sit at as a table.
It was one of those things. Okay, where you had to pivot to go through the door like that. Like
yeah. Sort of hook the edge around. Okay,
that's how you had to get it in.
You had to kind of rotate it in,
and it was orange. It was an orange wire spool.
Interesting.
But I was very grateful.
What did you do with all the recliners?
I think I left them when I moved. I think
you left that little mystery.
I did. I think one day I'm like, I got this new place I can move to. Cool. And I think I just walked out and turned in the key and never looked back.
Just so someone had walked in and saw 4 recliners and went, what the fuck?
Is this a Pink Floyd album cover?
4 recliners. Yeah. See to me that's 4 recliners is like a really pretentious like indie rock album. Something like that. So I'm planning on getting some new furniture. I really also ought to get a new dresser. I hardly use it anyway though, because I am allergic to folding clothes. Which is, I guess, another thing that I could change about myself.
You know what? I love the fact that I don't have a dresser.
Yeah,
I don't. I have an open closet with a big iron bar and 1,000 hangers.
Yeah,
that's how I put my clothes away.
I could do something like that, and I would actually have the space because this apartment has huge walk-in closets.
Nice.
So I could theoretically just hang up all my shirts and pants and whatnot instead of having to deal with the dresser. It's very nice. There's a lot of stuff about it that I'm very excited about, and I just want to get this first step taken care of to know that okay, I've got it. I can start making plans for the next step, because it's hard to plan for the next step when you don't know if it's even going to happen.
Right.
So yeah, I would like for that to be the case. And then I can, once I know that I can move in, then I can tell the property manager here that I'm going to be moving out at such and such a date.
They'll be like, oh,
thank God. Finally, we're getting rid of him. We can update that space.
Update that. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it'll be a whole thing that I'm sure we'll continue to talk about for the next 2 months, potentially.
You're welcome.
The moving saga.
You know what else is moving?
Gojira's music.
Yeah.
It will move you emotionally, and it will make you want to move physically.
Right.
Because it's real heavy and groovy, and
it's got like all the elements in there.
It's got all the things. This album has everything. Dan Cortez. So yeah, The Way of All Flesh is a album that came out in 2008 by Gojira. It is, I want to say, their 4th studio album. I might be wrong about that. Let me once again try to multitask here.
Oh no, he's doing it again.
I'm doing it again, which means I won't be able to talk. Continue.
It's funny to watch the rest of him just completely lock up while he's doing this.
Yes, I was right. It's their 4th studio album. That sounded right. So yeah, The Way of All Flesh is their 4th studio album. Came out in 2008.
Right.
And the theme of the album, broadly speaking, is about it's about death.
Yeah, mortality.
It's about the mortality and the process of dying.
Joe had just turned 30.
Yeah. And they had there are still, some environmental themes in there. I feel like the song Toxic Garbage Island is probably
Really? You think that's about the environment?
Maybe that might be about that. And it is also about death and how the environment is dying.
Yeah.
But yeah, broadly speaking, the album is, about mortality. It's some good stuff. I think I feel like because it falls kind of so squarely in the middle of their discography, it almost feels like it is the most them album of theirs I have listened to.
Right. It gets to where they've kind of perfected their sound.
Yes.
Where they haven't refined it too much.
They haven't refined it too much or really began to experiment with it in sort of more out there ways that, while interesting and definitely worthwhile explorations, are, this is very much, if you are someone who knows maybe a little bit about Gojira, you're a metal fan who's listened to them a bit, that sonic footprint you have in your head of what does Gojira sound like, I think it's this album.
Right.
This album is the closest to that impression of their general sound that you can get.
And it was funny. I was listening. Here's one thing I didn't mention. I hadn't heard this before.
I don't think I had listened to it all the way through either,
right?
To be honest.
And so I'm listening to it, and I'm like, wow, Joe really blows his voice out on this. It almost fucking sounds like Randy Blythe.
Yeah, well, because he's not credited on the song or the track title.
Right. He's not. No, he's not featuring. Yeah. I thought it was just Joe sounding like fucking
someone
Lamb
like
of God.
Yeah,
going
completely
on here.
different. But Randy Blythe does guest vocals on the song. I'm gonna keep on pulling shit up. It's behind me, but I'd have to rotate. The song "Adoration for None."
Gotcha.
And he's not just a short feature. He's present throughout almost the entire song. Him and Joe sort of going back and forth. And I mean, we've talked about Lamb of God a little bit before. I've always really liked Randy Blythe's vocals. He's got a very distinct, an immediately recognizable voice.
Immediately recognizable.
Which he also has been able to, despite the fact that he sounds very unique, he also seems to have a very, very good vocal technique because as far as I'm aware, he's not really had any vocal issues throughout his career.
No, most of his issues have been legal.
Yeah. And not necessarily his fault.
Yeah, no, that's true.
But I guess that was for the courts in the Czech Republic to decide whether or not he was liable for that. But there's I mean, like I said, this is a very archetypal Gojira album. I mean, I feel like most people would probably say that From Mars to Sirius is like the Gojira album. Yeah. But I think this one is a little more refined even than From Mars to Sirius was. From Mars to Sirius was maybe a little bit more out there than this.
Well, yeah. I mean, the Flying Whales.
Yeah, Flying Whales is I adore that song. It's a weird song. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
There's a lot to really enjoy. I had a hard time figuring out what I wanted to name as my favorite song because almost every one of these tracks had something on it that I really, really liked. A lot of it came down to just like really good riffs.
Right.
Really, really killer riffs.
There's some tasty riffs on here.
Absolutely.
There's some pick scrapes.
Yeah, there's honestly less than I was expecting.
Right.
I feel like the pick scrape is such a meme for them.
Yeah.
I feel like every time I actually listen to Gojira, I'm almost surprised at how little they actually do it. Like, it's become the Gojira thing is the pick scrape. They don't actually do it all that much. I feel like they use pinch harmonics almost as much as they do pick scrapes. And they don't get shit for doing pinch harmonics because everybody else does pinch harmonics.
Because they're more versatile.
Yeah.
Whereas a pick scrape is just one specific sound.
Well, okay, it's two sounds because you can do it too. You can either go up or you can go down.
Yeah.
And they do sound different. An up pick scrape will sound different from a down pick scrape.
A little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit.
That probably also sounds different if you're doing it on a 6-string guitar or a 7 or 8-string. It probably sounds there's more strings. So you got to do it quicker if you don't want it to take so long.
Man, how's your arm? I know it's just all this fucking reaching you're doing over here.
I'm doing like Michael Jordan at the end of Space Jam. Yeah. Just really stretching out. I drank the cartoon juice or whatever the hell. I guess the juice was that Mike's Secret juice. What the fuck? There's like a water bottle that's labeled at some point, and it's like Mike's juice or something like that. And all
Fresh Squoze Mike's juice.
The cartoons drink it to get good at basketball for a little bit. I barely remember Space Jam.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Space Jam since I was very small.
And I haven't seen the new one.
Yeah, and neither have I. But back to Gojira. Enough about Space Jam. Let's get back to talking about metal. There's a lot of big, tasty riffs on here. Yeah. I don't know if there is necessarily. I feel like there are less really, really big riffs than maybe there were on Mars to Sirius. There's obviously the opening riff to Flying Whales is gigantic. Mm-hmm. It's massive, and then you've got like Heaviest Matter of the Universe and whatnot. I really like in the opening song. All of those, I guess, it's probably hammer-ons and pull-offs that are happening there. Ouroboros features makes heavy use of that, and they use that technique a lot throughout the album, right? Which is something that I also really liked about the song "Global Warming" off of From Mars to Sirius. Mm-hmm. That song has a ton of that same technique, and I feel like they wanted to keep doing that sort of stuff on this album, maybe. Right.
Was global warming about the environment, or maybe
it was? I don't know. It's hard to tell. I feel like oh god, I had a thought and then it's floating away. Sorry. It's getting away from me. It's like in a space movie where they're getting further away. In
we need to get you some Mike's juice.
Yeah. As far as like genre blend on this, Gojira is kind of an interesting band because throughout their career, they've kind of been on a spectrum of starting off as a modern sounding and slightly progressive like death metal band. And slowly have been getting more and more of just a prog metal band as their career has gone on. But there are some songs on this album where the death metal felt surprisingly prevalent to me. Particularly the song with Randy Blythe. There are a lot of riffs on there that I feel like would be very at home in a lot of other death metal albums. And it's something that's never completely gone away with them. Occasionally their songwriting will evoke more something that feels more traditionally death metal. But I think that has gotten to be less and less as their career has gone on, but it's still present on this album. But there's lots of groove metal on here as well, which I guess is appropriate enough when you've got Randy Blythe on some songs. That's kind of Lamb of God's genre, that they fit most neatly into. Does this album slap? Yeah. I'm thinking it slaps. Did you, by the way, hear the quote unquote secret song at the end of the last track? In the sense that
it's just part of the last track.
Yeah, it's part of the last track, which is it's hard to do that sort of stuff on a digital album.
Right. Yep.
The way that it works on that one digitally is there's just 5 minutes of silence. And then the secret song plays. Which feels a little weird to me.
Like, I see what you're doing.
I see what you did there. I guess on a vinyl record, like that would kind of work because it would be secret in the sense that like if you hear silence on a vinyl record, you're going to assume, oh, it's over with. Time to take the disc out before the needle hits the last groove and that gets bounced back. And gets flung back and scraped across the record.
It actually works on CDs as well. I remember I got an original when it was brand new. Nevermind. I got that on CD as a teenager, and it had an extra like 70 tracks, all of which were silent. until the secret track at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
You're
have
like,
to
what the fuck
skip.
is going on? Yeah.
Either sit through them or skip all the way through them.
Right.
But yeah, it's just an ambient, little kind of ambient guitar.
Yeah.
Lots of layers happening there. Just a nice little treat there at the end of the album. It was kind of interesting looking at the reviews that were on the page for this on Wikipedia, because the 10 reviews that they had listed as far as like number of stars or out of 10 from these 10 different publications averaged out to 79.5. Pretty good. The Metacritic score was 67.
Really?
Which seemed really weird to me. And
For Metacritic?
Yeah, and apparently Metacritic, at the time when that score was generated and then put on that page, had only used 7 reviews, and it seems like they must have chose the worst 7 out of all of the reviews that it got. Because there were a couple of 60s in that 10, but broadly speaking, everything else was 80 or above. And it just seemed weird to me that that it was way lower. And I think certainly way lower than this album deserves.
Yeah.
Definitely. What's your favorite song on this album?
I had to think about it myself, and I think I landed on The Art of Dying. I think it's probably.
I agree. I very much agree with that. And like I had said earlier, it was kind of hard for me to choose. A lot of these songs on this album have a lot of things that I really like about them. I think The Art of Dying, The Art of Dying and Toxic Garbage Island, I think, are this album's 2 probably most prominent tracks.
Sure.
That if people are like talking about like what are the best songs from each Gojira album, it'll probably be one of those 2 songs on just about any list. And but I agree with you. I think The Art of Dying is also my favorite. So what medal do you bestow upon this album, like Maz Kanata to Chewbacca?
It's a gold.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I think it's a gold for me as well. It makes me want to listen to some more Gojira. I don't necessarily give them all of the attention that I perhaps ought to.
Right.
I sort of like once a year I'll have a little Gojira kick where I'll be listening to them. And going through their discography. I kind of do the same thing with Dream Theater as well. I mean, it's usually around the same time every year because I'm like, well, we got to listen to a Dream Theater album. So let me go through their discography and figure out what I want to listen to. And then I end up listening to a bunch of Dream Theater all in a row because it's all pretty good.
By the way, I've had a hard time not doing the Uncle Ben thing. The whole
all of the Florida Gojira line.
Yeah, Gojira.
There is a guy on YouTube who has a couple. He used to do. I don't know if he's still doing.
I haven't seen any videos from him in a long time.
But he would do like guitar lesson videos, and he did a couple of videos about like how to sound like a certain band. Yeah. And he did one for Mastodon, and they're pretty funny, generally speaking. And he would have these funny little names for the band. And just talk about how they create their sound and the different the gear that they use to make their guitar tones. But I agree with you that a gold is appropriate for the way of all flesh and the power it holds.
Yes. Wait a minute.
What are some more albums about flesh?
Flesh. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Pleasures of the Flesh.
Pleasures of the Flesh. Well, I guess Flesh and the Power of it, the Power It Holds was not the album. That was just a song on Sound of Perseverance.
Yes.
So what do you want to talk about next week?
Next week, I've been wanting to talk about this. It's an album from this year. Lower Form Resistance by The Simulator.
Well, say the name of the album one more time.
Lower Form Resistance.
Lower Form Resistance?
Yes.
Okay. I was gonna say, I listened to it like a little bit of that after you had mentioned it to me. They're like trying to remember what their sound. They're kind of like sort of like a grindcore band a little bit, but with longer songs.
Grindcore with longer songs and more artsy.
Yeah, sort of a. I'm sure there's a better name for that somewhere. But there is a specific sort of set of bands that have that sort of sound, where it's like the atmosphere feels very grindcore-y, but the song lengths are not consistent with what you traditionally think of as grind.
Or even in the song, the instrumentation and it just feels grindcore. Like
there's a griminess to it. There's a violence and a grit to the songwriting that feels that way.
There was this band called Naked City.
Naked City,
and they actually appeared on there was a grindcore. Is it an Eric grindcore compilation from the 90s? And Naked City was on there. Then and it's primarily a saxophone band.
Interesting.
Led by a guy, they just call him the crazy Jewish saxophonist, John Zorn.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking about clowncore. Which is kind of the same thing. It's grindcore, but with like saxophones and jazz instruments. But it
feels very grindcore.
Yeah, it has the songs are all short and very fast and violent, but it's keyboards and saxophone and weird, extremely distorted screamed vocals, and clowncore is fucking weird. But they're cool as hell, but they're fucking weird. I think it's more or less confirmed that the drummer in that band is Lewis Cole, who has worked with Wolfpack a number of times, which just is slightly funny to me. But anyway, till next week, why don't you go ahead and follow our social media pages? We're on Facebook and the website formerly known as Twitter. Or you can go ahead and subscribe to our feed on whatever podcast service you're using to listen to us right now. Thank you very much for listening to another episode of the Bronze Medalist Podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
Congratulations. Beer is God.
I hope you say that.
That'll be our little button at the end.